welcome back to another video. Today's video is a vampire video. Yes, sir. Today I'm going to be talking about actors who I believe should play vampires. I have a list of 10 actors/actresses that I believe would make awesome vampires. So I'm going to go down the list and say who I think should play a vampire and what type of vampire I think they could or should, or if they want, to play. I might be the only one who does this, but I will watch a normal movie that has nothing to do with vampires, fantasy, just like normal stuff. But I see an actor, I'm like, they'd be a cool vampire. Might just be me. So today I'm going to be going off a list of actors/actresses that I believe should play vampires. To start off, Milo Manheim. Milo Manheim is one of my favorite actors right now, known for playing Zed in Zombies, and he's currently in School Spirits, great show also, highly recommend it. Now Milo gives off the vibe of two different types of vampires. One is the vampire who's embraced their vampireness and is just like excited to be alive and makes it an adventure every day and is actually like basically a golden retriever vampire. Which there is a common trope of werewolves being that exact same, vibe where they're just like happy to be there, like what's going on? Now he has played a zombie and he's going to be participating in a movie whenever it comes out, Zombies 4: Rise of the Vampires, but he's going to be playing a zombie, not a vampire. But he will be interacting with vampires. So, close enough, I guess. I think Milo could play a vampire who's just happy to be there, embraces their nature, and has fun. Also, he could be the star-crossed lovers type vampire. I think he would be perfect in a role where he falls in love with a human, isn't supposed to, fights his nature for love. Maybe he loses control on his love because of one reason or another. I can imagine a story where he maybe has a very controlling maker or friends, and they find out he falls in love with a human. They don't like that very much, so they take it into their own hands to mess that relationship up. It could lead to Milo getting hurt, having to feed on their love, or just, whatever it could be. But I think he could either play the golden retriever vampire or the angsty, lovesick vampire. He could also play an evil vampire if he wanted, but that's the vibe I get off of Milo. I think that would be pretty cool. Next up is Jenna Ortega. Honestly, when it comes to Jenna, the perfect vampire for her would just be Wednesday as a vampire. She's already played, a very, dark, moody, angsty, brooding girl, who treats life and death differently than normal people. Honestly, the Addams family could just all be vampires and it would make a lot of sense. But I think Jenna could play a vampire like that. She could also do an angsty type vampire as well, or an evil vampire who wants to take over the world. She gives off the vibe where she could play any of those characters. She has done fantasy work. Obviously, she's played Wednesday Addams, and she's in a movie that has a unicorn in it. I've only seen the trailer. I know nothing about that movie, but there's a unicorn in it. And I think it's probably going to try to kill her. But so I think Jenna would just be a perfect vampire. There is an AI trailer going around right now where she's Mina, and Keanu Reeves is Dracula, which the age gap is a little, I mean, vampires and humans, there usually is an age gap, but I don't know about that one. Honestly, I'd love to see her as Mina. That would be, if that trailer were real, that'd be cool, but it's not. And there's like 20 of these fake AI trailers, and it's so obviously fake, and it's tricking people. Some people truly believe this movie's happening. It's not. Though it would be awesome, and I would watch it if it were real. Next up is Timothée Chalamet. He gives off another lovesick type vampire who's in love with humanity but can't have it himself. I think he'd be the type of vampire who wishes he could be human again. He gives off like an artist, wishing to be human again, doing everything he can to be human, but he never will cross that threshold. Maybe he could be in a movie where he does become human again. That does happen on occasion. Or he could just be fighting for humanity and being a good person, or trying to be a good person, being the type of vampire who refuses to hurt people and just wants to enjoy life rather than living in the shadows and, maybe befriends humans and stuff like that. Now, he's very versatile with his acting. He definitely could play a different type of vampire, an evil, brooding Damon Salvatore type. But I do think, the lovesick, Victorian child vampire, because everyone jokes that he looks like a sickly Victorian child, which I definitely see. So maybe he was a sickly Victorian child who became a vampire, you know, but didn't want this life. So now he's fighting to be as human as he can be every day. And I think that would be very awesome. Next, Zendaya. Zendaya would play a great vampire. I think she'd be the type of vampire who does embrace her nature, but she's not outwardly evil, though she could be. She could be a mean girl turned vampire, you know, where she loves being a vampire, loves killing and, you know, mauling and being the top of the food chain, treating human like cattle. But she also could be the type of vampire who fights against her nature and wants to be better, you know, fights for humans against her vampire kind. I think she could be one or the other, and either way I would be happy. You know, I think she just played a really cool vampire. I mean, she's an awesome actress, an awesome singer. I mean, who remembers Shake It Up? I do. That was so long ago. Oh, I feel old. But, you know, she's played so many different types of roles that I definitely think she could pull off vampire, or werewolf, or witch, or just fantasy in general. I think vampire would be cool. There's like an AI rumor, I don't think it's real, that Zendaya might be in the Buffy reboot that they're doing. I'm pretty sure it's just an AI image. I don't think it's real. Though Zendaya as Buffy would be kind of awesome. Because, I mean, she played Casey Undercover. I mean, she can do flips, and obviously I don't know how much of that was actually her, but you know what I mean. Like, she's played a spy before. She could play a monster hunter. You know what I mean? Yeah. Next up is Sebastian Stan. Sebastian is Romanian, which is like perfect Dracula material. I think there was a rumor that he wanted to play Dracula at one point, but that was back in 2020. So whatever film they were talking about, I don't know if it ever came out or not, but he would be an awesome Dracula. Personally. Now, obviously, I am a super fan of Dracula, and Christopher Lee is definitely my favorite Dracula of all time. But if Sebastian played Dracula, I would watch. He's one of my favorite characters in the MCU. I love Bucky's story because, well, I'm a sucker for brooding, angsty men. And Bucky, with all his, you know, tragic backstory, he's got the brooding down. And he's funny. And sarcastic. Great combo. But I think he would be an awesome Dracula. But also he could be like a vampire that hunts vampires. Kind of like a Blade situation. Where he fights against his nature to be, you know, a better man. Even though he's done some really horrible things. You know, he's atoning for a dark past and is doing his best to fight the darkness. I'd be okay with either one. I'd be okay if he was just a vampire hunter, generally. I just think he'd be awesome in a vampire movie. Whether he uses, you know, his Romanian background or if he just, you know, if he doesn't, I don't care. Vampire Sebastian Stan? Yes, please. Next up is Anne Hathaway. Everyone calls Anne a vampire already because she doesn't age. There are a few actors/actresses who are like, damn, you know, what? You know, they just don't age. Anne is one of those people that just does not age. And I think she'd play a great vampire. I definitely don't see her being an evil vampire, but that's just how I see Anne. I think it'd be more like a, you know, a vampire who isn't afraid of their nature, very confident, very strong, very, you know, but I don't see her being evil. I'd say if there was like a war between vampires and humans, she would be on the side of humans. She would befriend humans. She wouldn't see them as cattle. She would just, you know, be there for them. I could see her as a vampire queen. You know, maybe she's misunderstood. She has a vampire child who loves a human, and she can't comprehend how this could happen. But in the end, she loves her child and appreciates the marriage anyway. Why that came to mind, I don't know. But, you know, vampire vibes. She doesn't age anyway, so vampire could be vampire in real life. You never know. I think she'd be an awesome vampire. Next up is Ryan Gosling. He's a current obsession of mine ever since I watched The Fall Guy. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, at least currently. Which is shocking because, you know, I have this issue where I get stuck in a vampire bubble. But The Fall Guy was a movie that, like, I don't know, stood out to me. I own it on DVD. I saw it in theaters 2-3 times. Great movie, by the way, and if you don't like it, I don't understand. It's a great movie. There's very few non-vampire movies that are up there. The Fall Guy, Princess Bride is up there for me. 10 Things I Hate About You. There are certain movies that stand out to me where I'm like, okay, I like this. And there's no vampires at all, which is rare for me. Kind of sad, but whatever. Ryan should play a vampire. He gives off vampire vibes. He's been, he's a very versatile actor. He's done serious, he's done comedy, he was in the Barbie movie. I think Vampire Ryan would be really fun. Now, I don't see Ryan being an evil vampire. I do see him being more of a golden retriever type vampire, as Milo could be. I think maybe he embraces his nature, but he's not evil incarnate. Or he could be, I think, a Damphir, kind of like Blade, where he's a half human, half vampire, and, he maybe is an outcast from his community. And a lot of these vampires I see falling in love with humans, but that's my favorite, trope or storyline, is when a vampire falls in love with a human and they understand one another. Star-crossed lovers, if you will. It's just my thing. It's my jam. I love that, but I hate reincarnated lovers. So, there's two sides to it. And for all those who love reincarnated lovers, there are things about it that aren't terrible, but my thing is when you fall in love with someone, you should love them for their personality, their soul, the insides. However, in reincarnated lovers, a lot of the time, one of the people, usually a vampire or whatever, sees their love again, but it's just their face. You know what I mean? They see them across the room, holy crap, and they try and make this person their past love when they are a completely different person. They fall in love for looks, and some of the time they do eventually fall in love with the person, but, I'm just saying, it's very surface level love most of the time. But Ryan would be a great vampire. He gives off the vibes. You could play a good werewolf, too. Either one. I'd be happy with either one. Next up is Emma Stone. Emma Stone would be the type of vampire from the movie Vamps. I think it came out in 2012. Very, humor-based vampire story. The vampires, are what they are, but they're not, scary or evil or whatever. They're just trying to live life. Half the time they don't even want to be vampires, they fall in love, they hurt, they cry, they're people too. I think Emma would be a good vampire like that. She'd be the type of vampire who's just, going with the flow and just, there. Maybe she's not, excited to be a vampire, but she's not evil. I mean, she could play a type of vampire who hates her existence and is, brooding all the time, but I definitely think she'd be a humorous type vampire who blocks her pain with sarcasm. So Stas Stalinsky as a vampire, basically. And I think I would very much enjoy that. She does give off Vamps vibes. I think she would have been great in that movie. Replace one of the actresses with Emma, and I think you wouldn't have noticed the difference. Lastly, for the actor side, is Jason Momoa. Now, supposedly, Jason is going to be playing a vampire in Good, Bad, and Undead, which is a movie that I've heard about for years and have heard no news if it's actually happening or not. Supposedly, he plays a vampire who teams up with Van Helsing, who's played by Peter Dinklage, and chaos ensues. I'm not actually sure. I haven't read the description in a while. Supposedly, that movie's happening. It's been a while since I've heard any news about it, so I don't know. So he might play a vampire. He has played a werewolf before, so he looks like a werewolf, come on. He's a werewolf. But he would play a great vampire too. Obviously if this movie happens, it will become a reality, so that's pretty awesome. I would love for that to happen. Will this movie come out? I don't know. I would like it to come out, preferably, but we'll see, I guess. He would be the type of vampire who's very gruff and aggressive and very, in himself. I could see him being evil, but I could also see him, being the type of guy who doesn't really care about his existence, is kind of just there, drinking and hanging out and partying all the time and, being very nonchalant about the whole thing. So, evil or nonchalant. He could be a brooding, lovesick vampire, but he doesn't really give off those vibes. Gives a more gruff, ready to fight type vampire rather than, I love art and humans and, And the final actress that I believe should or could play vampire is Keira Knightley. Keira Knightley has done a lot of fantasy work. I mean, she's in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and she's awesome. I think she would make a great vampire. She gives off similar vibes to Anne Hathaway, kind of like that type of character. I would just love to see her with fangs. You know? I think, you know, she would be awesome. Again, with a lot of these characters, I don't see them being evil. I mean, some of them I could. Keira could be, earlier, a mean girl turned vampire. You know, like stuck up and, you know, hates humans and stuff like that. But I could also see her being on the other side. Honestly, with all these actors/actresses, I just want to see them as vampires. I don't care if they're evil or angsty or lovesick. I think they would look cool with fangs. I think Keira would make a great vampire. Yes, sir. That is the end of my list. However, there are a few that I wanted to put on here, but didn't. Dylan O'Brien would make a great vampire. He's been in a werewolf TV show, so vampire. I was going to put Pedro Pascal on this, but I completely forgot that he actually played a vampire already. If you didn't know, he was a vampire in Bloodsucking Bastards. He also was turned into a vampire on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I completely forgot he was on that show. I think he was on for an episode or two. But he did become a vampire. So he had to be taken off the list because I completely forgot that he had already played a vampire, though he should play a vampire again. Emily Blunt could be a cool vampire. British vampire. Ryan Reynolds could be, well, he technically was in a vampire movie. He was in Blade 3, but he wasn't a vampire. He was a vampire slave. Though I would like to see Hannibal King's story. It's been a long ass time, but I would love a Hannibal King movie. If you want to make that happen, that would be great. Thanks. But there are a lot of actors and actresses that could play vampires or have played vampires in small roles that should definitely play vampires again. If you'd like another video talking about actors or actresses that I want to see play vampires or play more vampires or vampires who should have stayed vampires, that one bothers me. There are many vampire movies where a character has become a vampire and by the end they become human again. Specifically, Michael Emerson. There are some occasions where I just wish they didn't make them human again. I think it would have been very interesting. Just saying. Alternative ending. Comment down below if there's any actors or actresses that you believe should play a vampire, could play a vampire, or would be awesome to play a vampire. If any of the actors or actresses that I talked about today did play a vampire and I did not know, comment down below because I'll watch it. Because obviously I'd love to see these people in fangs, and if there is a vampire movie or show out there that I did not discover in my research, I want to watch it. I have a slight vampire obsession, if you guys didn't know. So. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've been, thinking of doing this for a while. I have this thing where I watch movies and go, they'd be a cool vampire. I might be the only one who does that. So I thought, why not make a list of the actors that I have had this thought about? So, here we are. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be back again next week with another one. Alright guys, see you later. Whoosh.